Welcome home. Alright, so there's really unfortunate news that I have to share with you guys today about the Skyrim Together mod, and that is, according to an SKSE developer, Skyrim Together is stealing SKSE source code, which is a big no-no. It breaches the license, they do not have permission, they're not giving credit, and they're keeping the mod closed source so that they thought nobody would ever discover this. So this was released 4 hours ago on Reddit from one of the SKSE developers, and I want to read what they have to say about this because it's not looking good, and it's really bad when you take into account how much money these Skyrim Together developers are making off of this mod. So let's just dive right on into it. I guess it's time for more drama. Sorry, I hate having to do stuff like this. Skyrim Together is stealing SKSE code uncredited, without permission, with an explicit term in the license restricting one of the authors from having anything to do with the code, who denies using any of it. As you can see here, we aren't using SKSE at all, but the mod will be able to be loaded by SKSE's loader. They flat out lied. So, things aren't looking good already. The proof is pretty clear when you look at the loader and DLL in a disassembler. They're using a hacked up version of 1.7.3 Classic, presumably with some preprocessor macros to switch structure types around as needed between the 64 and 86 versions. Starting with the loader, it's basically SKSE loader with all of the options filed off and the error messages changed. In main, they check the error code of create process A against error elevation required, then have a slightly reworded error message box to handle that case. That I could see being a slightly suspicious coincidence. Head down to the actual DLL injection code at +4B81 and follow along with the SKSE64 /SKSE64 _loader _common /inject.cpp's inject DLL thread. The first function is just a SEH wrapper, calling do inject DLL thread to do the real work. Do inject DLL thread looks almost exactly the same, only with the check that the DLL exists removed. The timeout for wait for single object is exactly the same, even being switched between infinite, 60 seconds, and not being called at all via two bool arguments with the same indices. That's a pretty clear copy. Moving on to the DLL, tons of file paths are available in the strings. So here's what they had to say on this. Common is of course MIT licensed and doesn't require attribution, but is always appreciated. But the main SKSE source isn't. It's technically always been under common copyright law, but after Yamashi's terrible behavior towards the script extender team, best left to another post if you really care, he earned a special callout in the license. Here is the special callout in the license for SKSE. Due to the continued intentional copyright infringement and total disrespect for modder etiquette, the Skyrim Online team is explicitly disallowed from using any of these files for any purpose. Yes, it was that bad. Looking throughout the DLL, there's tons of code easily identifiable as copied unchanged from SKSE just from the strings and error messages. Most, if not all, the new script functions are there. Serialization, basically everything. RTTI data points to tons of SKSE custom classes. Honestly, the whole thing makes me feel sick. If you want a great smoking gun of SKSE code being directly used in functions they added, look at the definition of TES NPC and compare it with the function at +2B5A00, which appears to be walking over the members of a TES NPC, among other things, to build a string. The names of the fields just happen to match up, even including the numbered unknown ones. That's beyond coincidence. It would be easy to keep going and pointing out examples, but it gets technical and boring very quickly. I think these examples cover everything pretty well. This source code theft is completely uncredited, denied by the authors, and I'm sure has been a great help in developing their mod that is currently only usable when paid. Which is true, it's only ever been playable when paid through their Patreon page, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Currently, I'm not sure what to do about this situation. Note that it is normal for ordinary native code plugins to use the SKSE source code directly, and that's okay. They are supposed to have their source available, but in reality, that doesn't always happen. Skyrim Together is causing a problem by violating the license, not crediting, going out of their way to keep closed source, and effectively charging for a mod. This reflects badly on us and pushes us in a very bad legal position with Bethesda. I wish one day there could be a drama-free online mod. And here, especially, not just the code theft, but the fact that they're making so much money off of this mod and charging to actually play this mod, which unfortunately I was a patron of for a short period of time, which pisses me off. Let's go ahead and look at their Patreon. They have 29,936 patrons and are earning $35,114 per month off of this mod. A mod with clearly stolen code. I don't know if they thought they could get away with this or if they think people won't care about the SKSE developers because people just want the Skyrim online, but honestly, this disgusts me. I do not support this mod anymore. You will not see any coverage of this mod moving forward, and this is honestly really disappointing because I was really excited for this mod. I was hyped to play it with friends moving forward into the future, and this is honestly just really unfortunate because the progress on this mod was looking really good, and it seemed like these mod developers truly cared, but it seems like all they really cared about in the end was the money from Patreon. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's some people on this team that weren't aware of this. I'm sure there's some people that have worked their asses off on this mod, but to all of the people that knew about this, stealing someone else's code and profiting off of it, that's just fucking disgusting. Modding theft alone pisses me off, but then throwing profit, and not just normal profit, massive profit on top of that. I feel so bad for the SKSE development team because the script extender development team has done amazing things for the BGS community and the modding community as a whole, and the fact that people are so desperate to make some money off of a mod that they're willing to just steal someone else's code to benefit their own mod so that they can then profit off of it, that just pisses me off. I want to know your thoughts on this down in the comments section below because I will not be supporting this mod moving forward. I apologize that I supported it in the past, but I'm just me. I don't know how to dig into things like this. I wouldn't have known about this. I'm just glad that the SKSE developers figured this out before the mod fully released. So if you're currently a supporter on Patreon of Skyrim Together team, they stole code and they're profiting from it, which is not okay. But that's it for this video. Hope to see you all in the next one. And until next time, this is SKSE, signing off.